So the main purpose of today is just to educate, update, and hopefully put some minds at ease regarding the advancements to the helideck movement system within edition 8 of CAP 437. Our main aim is just to try and provide clarification ahead of the looming compliance date for incorporation, which is April the 1st, 2021. So just a bit of housekeeping, you will have all joined the call in listen-only mode. Can I ask that you please just stay muted throughout the call? We have pulled all the pre-supplied questions together and we're going to answer as many of them as possible within the Q&A. So onto the agenda, we'll be starting with Tom Irvin from Dron Dickson. Then we're going to hear from Daniel Powell at Orga. And then finally, we're going to put your questions to the panel in a Q&A. So on our panel, as well as Tom and Daniel, our presenters, we have Dron Dickson's Technical Development Manager, Jim Cooper, and the Oil and Gas UK Aviation Advisor, Graham Wildgoose. So without further ado, I am going to pass you over to Tom to kick us off.
Okay. Hopefully everybody will have visibility now of the presentation. Thank you very much, Carrie, for arranging this, and thank you everybody who's in attendance today. As Carrie actually said there, the main priority for us today is to give a little bit more in terms of visibility of what compliance is going to look like with the new HMS systems that are in place. So without further ado, we shall move on to the first slide. Trying not to do too much of a sales pitch. I think it was really key for us to really get the message across about who we are. Why is it Dron Dickson has been in contact with you? There's quite a number of people that are on this call, I believe, today who may not be aware of who Dron Dickson are. So just a little quick run through of who we are. We are E&I specialist contractors for hazardous area, marine and renewable electrical. We have 5 branches globally, 4 of those within the UK. We have a large pool of competent engineers. We've worked in this field for quite a number of years, so Circle and H and aids to navigation, something we're very, very familiar with. In fact, we facilitate 10% of TDPM or Circle and H lighting systems in the UKCS. So we have a strong track record. And finally, we have a wholesale division which operates throughout the UK. And from that regard, one of our major manufacturer partners are Orga, who are on the call today. So there's 3 major components to the HMS upgrades. There's the software manufacturers, and many of which are on the call today. I'd like to take this opportunity to say thank you for the months and months of input you guys have given us. So again, from our point of view, we are suppliers, installers and commissioners of the systems themselves. And from a hardware point of view, we have Orga, again, who are on this call today. I think the major point that we want to get across today is that you guys, the deck operators, no matter what your preference is in terms of the upgrade, we are working as a partnership between the software and the hardware manufacturers. So I know from a turnkey installation point of view, many of you will have a long-standing relationship with the software companies. We're working and we're engaging together. Equally, where you may want to run that separately and parallel, we are flexible enough to work exactly how industry dictates. This is probably the most important slide that we've got today, and this is really to do with the timeline involved. That compliance date of the 1st of April hasn't changed, it hasn't moved. We're really encouraging industry now to engage with your HMS suppliers, your software companies. There is going to be limited resources to get this completed within the required timescale. The date of the 1st of April, CAA recently made a statement regarding dispensation at the ASTG steering committee. There may be extensions granted, but the expectation from the CAA will be that you'll have your hardware orders in place you'll have the cabling done up to the edge of the deck, and you'll have your plan for the implementation and commissioning prior to the 1st of October. So, you know, this is going to be done on an individual deck basis. So really, time is pressing, time's against us here. A little bit on the actual statement that they made, as we've just stated there, it's obviously due to the impact of COVID-19 across the UKCS with the deck operators, but also many of the software manufacturers as well in ensuring compliance. The software should be upgraded to Rev 9 or later. You should have your HMS lights on order and your cabling to the edge in place. And you need to have your implementation plan in place for commissioning. To give a little bit of context, we are talking a huge number of decks that need to be completed within the allotted timescales here. This is just to give you guys an estimated timescale in terms of when we're sending out pre-survey questionnaires to walking off the edge of the deck with the cabling done up towards the edge of the deck. Now, when you multiply this across the number in the UKCS of required installations, you know, time really is pressing against us. And if we're multiplying that across multiple decks, again, now is the time to start engaging. In summary, action now. Please engage with your software manufacturers, your long-term HMS partners. These guys are waiting for the call, waiting to be engaged with. You need to get your plan in place. As a minimum, have the lights on order and have the cabling done up towards the edge of the deck, and have that plan in place for the commissioning well in advance of that 1st of October 2021. On the back of today's webinar, we will be sending out some contact details should you want to get further with us. So that's me in short. Thank you very much.
Lovely, thank you, Tom. I'm just going to now pass over to Daniel at Orga.
Hello there, hi. Hopefully you should see my screen here now. Just like to say thank you very much to Tom and Carrie and Drons for inviting us to be part of this webinar. Obviously, I will be talking about the new regulations for the helideck monitoring system repeater lights. So where did this initially come from? Obviously, as we heard there, this is now into CAP 437. It's edition 8, chapter 6.8, and also from the HCA standard for the monitoring systems. A new revision of that was released only last week. Just with some tidying up, really, more than anything. And this is from the compliance date, as we said, 1st of April 2021, although as Tom's has informed us with some flexibility within that. Orga have been working here with the civil aviation on the technical requirements for the lights here for about the last 3 or 4 years, doing some trials on the Chevron Captain and Alba FPSOs to understand photometric requirements and beam angle requirements and intensities and those kinds of things. And then later on, obviously, we get to actually, or they produce the actual standards that we need to produce these units to. Next thing, why HMS repeater lights? This is basically to improve the standardization of the systems and to reduce the independence of the HLO talking directly to the pilots. They wanted basically to understand or to offer the pilots a direct means of identifying what was happening on the actual deck themselves. And from that moved across from motion, but also the wind conditions as well, that after landing of the helicopter on the deck too. And basically what we have to do there is mimic the input that's coming from the HMS systems with regards to those parameters and show those as lights that the pilots can see directly onto the actual deck itself, the deck surface itself. So it's taken away that human interface and making it more of an automated system. So the first one we have here is the operational status before landing. So this is the looking at the motion of the actual deck as it's moving around. We basically have a blue light, steady burning, one on each corner of the heli deck, and this basically indicates that we're safe to land. From there, it then moves through the different algorithms and looking at all the different information that's input into the system, and goes to a yellow steady burning. And this is considered, the pilot should then consider using modified operating procedures. And then from there, obviously, if we get into an unsafe condition, it goes to a red steady burning light, one in each corner again, and this is do not land. So the pilot would then need to take evasive action to move away from the heli deck. After landing, then switches to look at the wind index, basically looking at the wind direction in comparison to the direction of the asset, the vessel itself, and the position of the helicopter within that on the heli deck. So it's all those different factors coming together. Obviously, it's this to stop the wind hitting the helicopter side on and causing dynamic rollover, or just blowing, as we've seen on unfortunately on several occasions, blowing the helicopters either over or off the deck itself. This is to stop that happening. So the first one, again, slow flash blue. This means everything is within limits. Then moving through this again, we go to fast flash yellow. This is again, it's coming to exceeding the limits here. Pilots need to take preventative action, and or the deck crew as well. There might be things such as either take off or strap the helicopter down onto the deck using the tie down points. And then the final version is fast flash red, and that means that the limits have certainly been exceeded, and then they definitely need to take action straight away, basically. So those are the six stages and 6 different aspects of this. So what does that mean from the actual equipment itself? So basically, you're looking at here as I mentioned, we need this on each corner of the heli deck. So this is one light fitting, which has all of those internally within it. So the red, amber, and blue, the flashing and steady burning, is all combined within the one unit. So it'd be one unit on each corner of the heli deck. Then there is the control modules themselves. Depending on how that connection will be made between the HMS system and the lighting system, that can be 1 or 2 control units that you see here on the slide. They can either be located directly in the HMS cabinet, or in a small junction box style enclosure just next door to the cabinet. Then obviously we have cabling linking from the HMS cabinet to the actual lights themselves. This is both communication and power, and will go from a looping, so it'll be one cable coming out of the cabinet to the first light, and then looping on subsequently to the next 2, 3, and 4 lights around the heli deck. The actual units themselves are designed to fit directly onto the deck surface, so they'll be less than the 150 millimeter height restriction that is in place now on the heli decks themselves, around the white TLOF line around the edge of the heli deck. Power consumption is relatively low for the entire system, so expecting a maximum of 300 watts there. Obviously a temperature range suitable for the majority of the world of -25 to +55, so it can move around and be suitable for all areas. And as I say, it's really that height restriction which is the real one to take into note here, that there's no need to mount them off the side of the heli deck into the guttering or with bracket works onto the side into the netting area. It can go straight where the perimeter lights and previously the floodlights were normally found. So that's my my presentation. Thanks again once again for your attention and inviting me there.
Okay, thank you very much, Daniel. So we're now going to move on to the Q&A. So I'll welcome Jim and Graham to unmute their mics. And I'll just jump right in with the first question. What can we do to be compliant by March 31, 2021?
Well, I'll jump in at that one. Fairly straightforward. Have your order in place for the hardware. Engage with your software providers and have your plan in place for the implementation, but also getting that cabling done and ready at the edge of the deck.
To clarify, the CAA will be issuing guidance on what level of work has to be carried out for you to qualify for a dispensation past the 1st of April. This clarification, I'm hoping, will be issued later this week. But in effect, what they're saying is, right now, the date for implementation is the 1st of April. However, they understand with various issues in the last 12 months that there may be requirements for dispensation past that, and there will be questions from individual operators on what qualifies for a dispensation. So they're going to issue that this week. I'm assured by Dave Howson of the CAA. So we look forward to that. When that comes out, it will certainly be issued by OGUK, and I'll make sure that Tom's got it through D&D and Daniel's got it through Orga, and we can get that distributed to as many people as possible.
Great, thank you, Graham. So next question, why are the lights not available now?
I'll obviously take that one. So basically, as I mentioned, the regulations for the lights were finalised. I think it was November 2019 in Rev 9A of the actual HMS documentation that came out. Until that time, obviously, we were almost on hold on the design front, waiting for the photometric and all the parameters that the lights need to meet to be finalised. And then once that happened, we moved forward. Optical engineers and all the other engineering around the bodywork and everything like that of the light can then continue onwards. That obviously takes some time. We're now at a point where the lights are designed, fully designed. All components are being manufactured by sub-suppliers and coming into our R&D for validation. That's literally happening this week. And then as we move forward, then we will then send it as part of the requirements. We have to get third-party testing and approval of the system. That means that we have to send it to the states for third-party validation. That means that we meet the light units in all phases and meet the requirements. And then once we get that back, then we can ramp up the production of the systems. So that's really where the timeline has been and has been eaten up, basically. But we are right in the final stages now, and have obviously done this many times over the years. So are very confident that there's no outstanding issues. It's really just running through the phases that need to be done to make sure that we have a reliable, a robust, and a product and system that hits the ground running straight away.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, what is the process for ensuring compliance? Who do we advise?
Well, right now it'll be if you fit a system, have it commissioned, and it's all working, then similar to the Circle and 8 system, you would advise the HCA, who would add that to your helideck certification. and it would be highlighted on that certification that you have a fully functioning Rev 9B HMS. So that would be the process.
Great, thank you. So the next question is, what happens if we miss the deadline?
If you miss the deadline of the 1st of April, in effect, the the HCA will slap a restriction on your helideck as if your deck was attached to the seabed. So it's less than 1 degree of pitch and roll, and the heave rate of 1 meter. So really very restrictive limitations on being able to land an aircraft on it. So if you don't do anything, that will happen automatically. HCA will put a restriction on your deck come 1st of April. So if nothing else, I can advise you is talk to the HCA. And tell them what you're doing. If you are going to submit an application for dispensation, get that in, because it's going to be the CAA that will issue the dispensation, not the HCA, because it's a flight ops issue of being able to land on a helideck. Therefore, the head of flight ops of the CAA will give dispensation, not the helideck certification agency. So that's please plan ahead and do that. If you don't do it beforehand, you will have a restriction on your deck.
Great, thank you. The next question is, in the CAP 437, it's not very clear how the lights should be controlled.
I'll take that one, Carrie. That question is probably slightly out of date now. It's been clarified in version 9B, which came out on the 1st of November. So we've got both options. We've got MODBUS, or we'll have a relay control option. It could be either or if required, we could do a combination control.
Great, thank you. Next question. What warranties are provided?
So, I think that's one for Daniel.
Oh, okay. Yeah, basically, for the lighting system itself, the standard warranties, standard kind of industry standard warranties, I guess, are in place. So that's normally 24 months from delivery or 18 months from commissioning, I think, whichever happens first. Obviously, we can look at those on a case-by-case basis if there's a need to extend those. From the HMS suppliers, obviously, we'll be working with them as well to go back to back with any requirements that clients may have for their systems as well, to ensure that there is a rounded warranty available for not only the light system but the HMS system in general terms, so that it would be covered all in under and be back to back basically.
So the next question is about commissioning. Who will be commissioning the system?
I'll take that one, Carrie. Depending on what stage it is over the lifetime of the project, if everything was available, it would be any of the members of the turnkey team. But the way things are right now, when we're receiving the safe lights first and the EX lights at a later stage, I would probably see the electrical people actually doing the commission of the lights when the lights become available, because hopefully everything else will be installed by then. This will be achieved. The good thing about the Orga system is we can go online to the control modules, and we can actually simulate the signals out onto the heli deck to control the lights. It's a great advantage because a lot of the signals on the HMS system are fixed, so you have to actually adjust the instruments, which is not the best way to do it. So we've got the option. So all members of the turnkey team.
Okay. The next question is, if the lights are not available to install, how can the system be fully tested on the second visit?
But it's similar to the first the question just previously asked us. What we would do is everything would be powered up. We'd actually go online with the laptop onto the module and drive the signals out to the helideck to control the lights. Plus, we could read the feedback signals from the lights of the status of the condition of the lights.
Okay, great. This one, I think it's for Daniel. You've already kind of answered it, but why has it taken so long for the lights to be certified?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think you're right, Carrie. That I think basically it's just the length of time that it takes for normal product development and of lights of this nature. It's been realistically about a year now since the regulations came out, and we were able to really understand what the final requirement was going to be. Obviously, it's possible to go earlier and design things earlier, but if those things then change, then you're spending a lot of money and resources and having to go back to square one again. So we really needed to get that regulation out and fixed and firm before we could move forward. As soon as that was, then this is relatively a standard lead time for this type of product. We're as I think Jim just mentioned, the safe area version of the lights will obviously come out first, and then we're following through the normal EX procedures for certification from an EX point of view on the lights. Straight after that, and running that through. Just by the nature of the tests that need to happen for EX products, that's anywhere between a 4 to 6 month period with the aging that needs to happen before we're able to even start the testing. So I'm moving forward with that, but it is, just like I say, by its nature, an elongated process as well.
No worries, makes sense. The next one for you as well, Daniel. Will manufacturers be able to meet the demand given the timeline?
The straightforward answer is yes. I think basically as we've mentioned before, it's one of the reasons why the dispensation has come into play. It's not only, of course, that COVID has affected our ability within Orga and the civil aviation's ability to put these measures and the design process in place, but it also hits obviously all the sub-suppliers and everyone like that, all the notifying bodies who have to do the third-party testing and everything like that. And I think that's why one of the reasons, at least, that the civil aviation have put this dispensation in place and have said that, okay, even if you can't get all of the sections and units that needed for the upgrade from the control cabinet through to the actual lighting system, as long as you have a plan in place and have done as much as possible, that they are fully aware of the timelines that we are involved in at the present, and they will understand that and be part of that dispensation process, that they know when we're going to be available to meet the markets. I think as soon as it is available, then there'll be no issue on that. We'll be able to ramp up the actual production side once certification and things like that are completed very, very quickly. So having units available as soon as they are ready to go won't be an issue at all.
Great, thank you. So engineering one is, can we install the lights ourselves?
I'll take that one. In theory, yes, but we've been here before with lots of other specialist systems, and you tend to find that, particularly when you're looking at things like the integration of control modules, it is something that you want to take expert advice on and utilize specialists for. There's other elements that would potentially be involved here where you're looking at rope access for some of the cable runs. So, in theory, yes, but I think the reality is, you'd be better off engaging with the experts.
Great, thank you. Next question. How are the systems maintained and what are the recommended instructions?
I think that's one for me again, probably. So from the actual on-deck light units themselves, It's much the same as the current set of lights that are there, much as like the premise lights and the floodlights and status lights around the edge of the helideck. Normal visuals and EX inspections as you would do with any of those products. Cleaning as necessary as well, of course. But apart from that, these are pretty much solid state units. From the presentation, I'm not sure if you noticed, but the control electronics internally are all molded units, so there's no worry there about those being damaged at all or anything like that. So it's really just the standard things you would normally do on your helideck. It can fit as part of your operational plan there. And I would suggest although it'd be best to check with them, of course, but for the HMS systems themselves, obviously there is annual calibrations that need to happen within the HMS systems that I'm aware of, and I would suggest that this would just form part of that normal annual calibration that they would be checking the overall system working basically during that time.
Great. So the next question is, what are the benefits of using MODBUS?
I'll take that one, Carrie. MODBUS, there's two advantages. The MODBUS, first thing we'd explain is Orga has actually got a new cable coming to the market, which is a combined cable, so we have MODBUS and power. So using MODBUS will be a reduction in cabling. And the main feature for MODBUS is we would actually receive information back from the status lights back into the HMS system, telling us the condition of the lights, which could be passed on to the helicopter pilot on approach to see if he's been blindsided.
Great, thank you. So the next question, if an upgrade of a current system or the installation of a new system can be demonstrated to be purchased, supplied and scheduled for installation on a vessel over the summer of 2021, is this sufficient for dispensation and maintaining the current helideck limitation?
Yeah, I can take that one, Carrie. That's two questions. One of them I have asked the CA, in particular, that if a company was to order all their kit, get it all supplied, get their manpower jacked up, get it scheduled in their plan, get their POB correct, and it's all set to say install in August, would that be sufficient for dispensation? The answer I got was that would seem reasonable that dispensation would be given. The question I have outstanding to the CA is, okay, then what is the limitations on that vessel? Because if they get clearance to remain at the limitations that they currently have, and another operator has done some work but they then don't get a dispensation and they get a limitation on the landings, then why would that be? So it throws open a lot more questions, and until the CAA can come out with clarification on the dispensation process, which again is hopefully going to be this week, then these questions are still unanswered. So, but on the issue of if you've ordered everything, you've got everything that's scheduled in your program, yes, you should get a dispensation. My question is, okay, do you maintain current landing limitations? That's the one that's outstanding. Can't answer that, I'm sorry.
No worries. So the next question is, the last ASTG, the CAA stated that lack of approval of a system software should not restrict vessel operators in upgrading the software or lights. How long is the lack of approval acceptable for, and will it be highlighted on the helideck certificate?
Again, I'll take that. It's another one of those questions that have been thrown at the CA. What they've said is if you get a revision 9B system from your current software supplier, then you should make sure that their application for approval is already in. It means they're in the queue to have it approved. There is only one person approving this software package right now, So it's going to take a bit of time to get all the systems approved. Again, the CA come back and say, well, you should put something in your clause to say that if it doesn't get approval, then there's some come back on you. Again, that's basic contract law and not within my remit, but I'm sure your supply chain guys would cover that. But unless you're fitting a system that is unknown to you and you're fitting it from scratch, I would be wary. If it's a system that's currently being used and you're only waiting for the upgraded software, I would suspect that the vast majority of them will meet the requirements.
Great, thank you. And this is our last question. It's what is the procedure for vessels and jackups coming into the UK waters that have been operating out with where there are no requirements for repeater lighting?
I mean, again, I can say that any vessel coming into the UKCS to operate must meet the requirements of Cat 437. So, lighting, HMS, whatever, they would have to have a current system or a system in compliance with current regulations fitted to the vessel before they can operate in the UKCS. And I'm pretty sure that whatever oil company the vessel is going on contract with, there would be somebody standing there making sure that systems are fitted, or they're not going to be able to land on the vessel.
Makes sense. Okay, lovely. That was our last question. So we've now covered all the content and questions. So we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining. Just to let you know, everyone on the call will receive a follow-up email with some contact details if you have any questions or inquiries. So thanks again for joining, everyone. Have a nice day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.